I, 19M, have been caught in a whirlwind of family drama that's turned my life upside down. To understand how I got here, I need to start from the beginning. I grew up on a small family farm in rural America, where everyone knows everyone else's business. My parents, Mark, 45M, and Linda, 43F, have run our family farm, Heritage Acres, for as long as I can remember. It's been the heart of our family for 3 generations, started by my great-grandparents who immigrated from Ireland. Growing up, the smell of fresh hay and the sound of tractors were as familiar to me as breathing. I spent countless hours after school and on weekends helping out on the farm, learning everything from how to milk cows to how to operate heavy machinery. Dad always said that the secret to our success was our unwavering commitment to quality and tradition. We never cut corners, always used sustainable farming practices, and stuck to the time-honored methods passed down through generations. My mom was the one who handled most of the business side, always chatting with buyers and managing our small farm store where we sold fresh produce and dairy products. She had a knack for making everyone feel special, like they were part of our extended family. Between the two of them, they built a loyal customer base that kept our business thriving even when bigger industrial farms tried to move into the area. We weren't rich by any means, but we were comfortable. My parents worked hard and instilled in me the values of independence, hard work, and pride in one's craft. They always said that asking for help was a sign of weakness, that a true farmer should be able to weather any storm on their own. This attitude extended to our family relationships too. My dad had a falling out with his brother, my Uncle Tom, 50M, years ago. I was too young to understand the details, but it had something to do with Uncle Tom leaving the farm to pursue a career in agricultural technology in the city. Dad saw it as a betrayal of our heritage, and they hadn't spoken in years. Despite the family drama, my childhood was pretty great. I did well in school, had a tight-knit group of friends, and was even captain of the 4-H club. My parents were always supportive of my extracurricular activities, as long as I still helped out on the farm when needed. They were proud of my academic achievements and encouraged me to dream big about college. Then a series of natural disasters hit our area, severe droughts followed by unexpected floods, and everything changed. At first, we thought we could weather it like we had other tough years. But as the problems persisted, the impact on our farm became impossible to ignore. Crops failed, we lost livestock, and we had to reduce our production significantly. I watched the worry lines deepen on my parents' faces with each passing day. They tried to shield me from their financial troubles, but on a small farm, it was hard not to see the reality of our situation. I was in my last year of high school, and suddenly, my dreams of going to a good college to study agricultural science seemed to be slipping away. I started looking for part-time jobs in town, determined to save up for college on my own. When I told my parents about my plan, their reaction surprised me. They were furious. Dad said it would be embarrassing if people found out I was working somewhere else, that it would look like our farm couldn't support the family. Mom worried about what the neighbors would think if they saw me working at the local supermarket or fast food joint. They promised they'd figure something out for my college funds, but I could see the reality of our situation. The farm was barely staying afloat, and there was no way they could afford to send me to college. But their pride wouldn't let them admit it. So, I did what I thought was best. I secretly got a job at the local grain elevator. For months, I worked after school and on weekends, telling my parents I was studying with friends or participating in 4-H activities. The guilt of lying to them ate at me, but I felt I had no choice. Just when I thought things couldn't get more complicated, Uncle Tom came to visit. It was the first time I'd seen him in years. He was in town for an agricultural technology conference and decided to stop by. The tension between him and my dad was palpable, but they managed to be civil for my sake. Uncle Tom and I got to talking, and he asked about my plans for college. When I hesitated, he seemed to sense something was wrong. Later, he pulled me aside and asked me directly about our financial situation. Maybe it was the stress of keeping secrets for so long, or maybe it was because Uncle Tom was an outsider who didn't seem caught up in the town's gossip mill, but I found myself telling him everything. He listened without judgment and then made an offer that would change everything. He offered to pay for my college education. He said he had done well in his career and had no children of his own, so he'd be happy to help me pursue my dreams of studying agricultural science and potentially bringing new technologies back to help modernize our family farm. I was thrilled, but also terrified of how my parents would react. When Uncle Tom brought it up at dinner, my fears were realized. My parents exploded. Dad called Uncle Tom a show-off and accused him of trying to undermine our traditional farming methods. Mom said we didn't need charity from anyone, especially not from someone who had turned his back on the family farm. The visit ended with Uncle Tom storming out and my parents fuming. But before he left, Uncle Tom slipped me his business card and told me to think about his offer. For weeks, I agonized over what to do. I knew accepting Uncle Tom's help would devastate my parents, but I also knew it might be my only chance at a good education. In the end, I decided to accept. I called Uncle Tom and told him I'd take him up on his offer if it was still on the table. When my acceptance letter from my dream university's agricultural science program arrived, I couldn't hide it anymore. I told my parents everything, the secret job, Uncle Tom's offer, and my decision to accept it. Their reaction was even worse than I'd imagined. Dad called me ungrateful and said I'd betrayed everything our family stood for. Mom cried, saying I'd chosen money over family loyalty. They gave me an ultimatum: reject Uncle Tom's money or leave. It was the hardest decision of my life, but I chose to leave. I couldn't give up on my future, not when I had worked so hard and had this opportunity. I packed my bags that night, with my parents watching in stony silence. Uncle Tom came to pick me up. As we drove away, I watched our family farm disappear in the rearview mirror, my heart breaking. I was embarking on a new chapter of my life, but at what cost? It's been a month now. My parents haven't spoken to me since I left. I'm staying with Uncle Tom until college starts in the fall. He's been kind and supportive, but I can tell he feels guilty about the rift he's caused in our family. I'm hurt, confused, and angry. I don't think I did anything wrong by accepting help when it was offered. My future shouldn't be sacrificed for their pride. But I can't help feeling guilty too. I know my parents are struggling, and I've essentially abandoned them in their time of need. I start college in the fall, and while I'm excited, this family rift is casting a shadow over everything. I love my parents, but I can't understand why they'd rather see me struggle than accept help from family. Am I wrong for choosing my future over their pride? How can I move forward knowing that pursuing my dreams has cost me my relationship with my parents? Update 1. It's been 2 months since my last post, and my life has taken so many twists and turns that I hardly know where to begin. I'm now settled into my dorm at the State Agricultural University, and classes have started. The campus is beautiful, with a mix of modern research facilities and vast experimental fields. My roommate, Chris, 18M, is a cool guy from a suburban background who's majoring in environmental science. We get along well, which is a relief given how much time we'll be spending together. The academic workload is intense, but I'm loving the challenge. I've already joined the university's Sustainable Agriculture Club and signed up for a research assistant position in the soil science lab. It's exciting to be surrounded by people who are passionate about the future of farming and have diverse ideas about how to tackle the challenges facing modern agriculture. But amidst all this excitement, the situation with my parents hangs over me like a dark cloud. They're still not speaking to me. I've tried reaching out several times, sending texts, emails, even a handwritten letter, but I've received no response. The silence is deafening and painful. The hardest part was during orientation week. Everywhere I looked, there were students with their parents, helping them move in, buying last-minute dorm supplies, and saying emotional goodbyes. I put on a brave face, but inside, I was crumbling. Uncle Tom offered to come, but I declined. As kind as he's been, seeing him there would have only reminded me of who wasn't there. Uncle Tom has been incredibly supportive throughout this whole ordeal. He's not trying to replace my parents, he's made that clear, but he's been there for me when I needed someone to talk to. He's given me advice about managing my course load, joining clubs, and even dating in college, which was a bit awkward, but I appreciated the effort. He calls to check in on me regularly and has even sent me care packages with homemade jerky. It's good, but it's not the same as the home-cured bacon from our family farm. Last week, something happened that shook me up even more. I was at a local farmer's market near campus, trying to find some decent produce that reminded me of home, when I ran into Mr. Johnson, 65M, our old neighbor from back home. He's visiting his daughter who lives in the city, and he recognized me immediately. At first, it was nice to see a familiar face from home. We chatted about my classes and how I was settling in. But then he started talking about my parents and the farm, and my heart sank. According to Mr. Johnson, things back home are worse than I imagined. The farm is really struggling. They've had to sell off most of their livestock and are barely managing to keep up with the crops. They've had to let go of their farm hands, including old Pete, who'd been working for us since before I was born. But what really got to me was when Mr. Johnson described how my parents looked. He said they seemed tired all the time, with dark circles under their eyes. My mom, who was always immaculately put together even during the busiest harvest seasons, now often forgets to do her hair or makeup. Dad, who used to jovially chat with every customer at our farm store, now barely musters a smile. Mr. Johnson said the whole town is worried about them. There are rumors that they might have to sell the farm. The thought of Heritage Acres, with all its history and memories, being sold to some big agricultural corporation makes my stomach churn. This news hit me like a ton of bricks. Despite everything that's happened, I still care deeply about my parents and our family legacy. It hurts to know they're going through such a difficult time. Part of me wants to reach out again, to offer help, maybe even ask Uncle Tom if he'd be willing to help them too. But another part of me is still angry and hurt by their reaction to my decision. I'm torn between my desire to reconcile and my lingering resentment over their treatment of me. I know they're proud people, but their pride has already cost them their relationship with me. Now it seems like it might cost them their farm too. I've been losing sleep over this, unsure of what to do. Should I swallow my pride and reach out again, offering help this time? Or should I focus on my studies and let them figure things out on their own, as they seem to want? It's a difficult situation and I'm really struggling with what the right thing to do is. To complicate matters further, Uncle Tom noticed that something was off with me after I spoke with Mr. Johnson. When he asked what was wrong, I ended up telling him everything. He looked troubled and offered to help my parents out, but I'm not sure if that would make things better or worse. Knowing my dad, he might see it as Uncle Tom gloating or trying to show him up. For now, I'm throwing myself into my studies and trying to make the most of my college experience. But the situation with my parents is always there in the back of my mind, a constant source of stress and sadness. I find myself zoning out in class, thinking about the farm. The other night, I even dreamt about the smell of fresh hay and the sound of the old tractor rumbling across the fields. I hope that someday we can find a way to mend our relationship, but right now, that seems like a distant dream. The gulf between us feels wider than ever, and I'm not sure how to begin bridging it. All I know is that this isn't how I imagined starting my college life, and I'm struggling to balance my new world here with the pieces of my old life that I've left behind. Update 2, it's been another month, and the situation has taken an unexpected turn. After weeks of internal debate, I finally decided to reach out to my parents again. I couldn't bear the thought of them losing the farm without at least trying to help. I chose to call rather than text or email, hoping that hearing my voice might make a difference. My heart was pounding as I dialed our home number, half expecting it to go straight to voicemail as it had so many times before. To my surprise, my mom answered. Her voice sounded tired and defeated, nothing like the energetic, cheerful woman I remember. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then, as if a dam had broken, words started pouring out. We talked for over an hour. Mom opened up about their situation, and it was even worse than Mr. Johnson had described. The farm is on the verge of foreclosure. They've exhausted all their savings and are drowning in debt. They've had to sell off most of their equipment and are struggling to even plant crops for the next season. What shocked me most was when she admitted that they had made a huge mistake in refusing Uncle Tom's help and pushing me away. She said they realized too late that their pride had cost them not just their relationship with me, but potentially their livelihood too. I told her about Mr. Johnson informing me of their struggles, and how I'd been worried sick about them. I also mentioned that I might be able to help, through Uncle Tom. There was a long pause, and then she started crying. She said they couldn't ask for help after how they'd treated us. The conversation was emotionally draining, but it felt like a breakthrough. Mom said she'd talked to Dad about accepting help, but warned me that he might still be too proud. Before we hung up, she told me she loved me and was proud of me for standing my ground. It was the first time I'd heard those words from her in months, and they meant the world to me. After the call, I felt a mix of relief and anxiety. I decided to take matters into my own hands and spoke to Uncle Tom about the situation. He was hesitant at first, given the bad blood between him and my dad, but he agreed to help for my sake. Uncle Tom suggested a plan. He offered to invest in the farm, to help modernize it and get it back on its feet. His idea was to keep the traditional aspects that made Heritage Acres special, but also introduce new sustainable farming technologies to increase productivity and reduce costs. When I called Mom back to tell her about this, she was overwhelmed with gratitude. She promised to talk to Dad about accepting the offer. However, she warned me that Dad might still be too proud to accept help, especially from Uncle Tom. Now, I'm anxiously waiting to hear back from Mom about Dad's decision. This whole situation has been a roller coaster of emotions. I'm hopeful that this could be a step towards reconciliation, but I'm also wary. Their actions hurt me deeply, and while I want to help them, I'm not sure if I'm ready to fully forgive and forget just yet. I'm also worried about what will happen if Dad refuses Uncle Tom's help again. The thought of Heritage Acres being sold off piece by piece makes my heart ache. That farm holds so many memories, the smell of fresh earth in spring, learning to drive a tractor with my dad, chasing fireflies in the fields on summer evenings. It's not just a business, it's a part of our family's legacy. My friends at college have been supportive, listening to me vent and offering advice. Chris, my roommate, even offered to come home with me if I need moral support. It's touching, but I'm not sure I'm ready for anyone else to witness our family drama firsthand. For now, I'm trying to focus on my midterms while anxiously waiting to hear back from Mom. My grades have slipped a bit with all this stress, and I'm determined not to let my family issues derail my education. After all, that's what started this whole mess in the first place. This whole experience has made me realize how complex family relationships can be. I love my parents, but I'm also hurt and angry. I want to help them, but I also need to protect myself emotionally. It's a delicate balance, and I'm not sure I'm handling it right. I keep thinking about the future. Even if Dad accepts Uncle Tom's help and the farm is saved, where do we go from there? Can we rebuild our relationship? Will things ever be the same? And what about my relationship with Uncle Tom? He's been so supportive, but I worry about being caught in the middle if he and Dad start working together. As I sit here in my dorm room, surrounded by textbooks and half-finished essays, I can't help but feel like I'm living two lives. There's college Alex, who's making new friends and learning new things every day. And there's farm boy Alex, worried about his family and their legacy. I'm not sure how to reconcile these two versions of myself. I'm hoping for the best but preparing for the worst. Whatever happens, I know this experience has changed me. I've learned a lot about standing up for myself, but also about the importance of family. I just hope it's not too late for us to find a way forward together. Update 3, it's been 2 weeks since my last update, and I have some surprising news to share. After days of tense waiting, I finally heard back from my mom. My dad agreed to accept Uncle Tom's help, but not without some drama. Initially, when my mom told him about Uncle Tom's offer, he flat out refused. He said he'd rather lose the farm than accept help from his estranged brother. This led to a huge fight between my parents. Mom called me in tears, saying she couldn't watch Dad throw everything away because of his stubbornness. Feeling desperate, I decided to go home for the weekend to talk to Dad face to face. I was nervous about seeing him after all this time, but I knew I had to try. When I arrived, the atmosphere was tense. Dad barely looked at me at first, but I could see the toll the stress had taken on him. He looked older, more tired than I'd ever seen him. We had a long, difficult conversation. I told him how much it hurt me when they disowned me, how I felt like I had to choose between my future and my family. I also told him about how much I missed them, and how worried I'd been about the farm. To my surprise, Dad broke down. He admitted that he'd been wrong, that his pride had nearly cost him everything he cared about. He said he was sorry for how he'd treated me, and that he was proud of me for standing my ground and pursuing my education. It was a breakthrough moment. We both cried and hugged, beginning to heal the rift between us. After that, Dad agreed to meet with Uncle Tom to discuss the investment in the farm. The meeting between Dad and Uncle Tom was tense at first, but they managed to put aside their old grievances for the sake of the family and the farm. Uncle Tom agreed to invest in modernizing the farm and helping with implementing new sustainable farming practices, in exchange for a small stake in the business. Now, a week later, things are looking up. The farm has a new irrigation system and they're planning to diversify their crops to include some high-value organic produce. Dad and Uncle Tom are cautiously rebuilding their relationship, bonding over their shared love for the land. As for me, I'm back at college, feeling lighter than I have in months. My relationship with my parents is on the mend, though we still have work to do. We've agreed to have weekly video calls to stay connected, and I'm planning to come home for the harvest season to help out on the farm. This whole experience has taught me a lot about the dangers of excessive pride, the importance of family, and the value of forgiveness. It's also shown me that it's possible to honor tradition while still embracing change and accepting help when it's needed. I'm grateful for how things turned out, but I also know that I need to set some boundaries going forward. I love my parents, but I can't let their issues dictate my life choices anymore. I'm hopeful for our future as a family, but I'm also committed to maintaining my independence and pursuing my own path in agricultural science. The road ahead won't be easy. There's still a lot of hurt to work through, and I know there will be challenges as my parents and Uncle Tom navigate their new business relationship. But for the first time in months, I feel hopeful about our future as a family and the future of Heritage Acres. As I sit in my dorm room, looking at the old family photo taken during last year's harvest that I finally felt able to put up on my desk, I realize that sometimes you have to risk losing everything to gain something even better. Our family isn't perfect, but we're trying, and right now, that's enough. I'm excited to apply what I'm learning in my classes to help improve our farm. Who knows, maybe one day I'll be able to bring innovative, sustainable practices to not just our farm, but to help other struggling family farms in our community too. This experience has reinforced my passion for agricultural science and shown me firsthand why it's so important. I'm more determined than ever to make a difference in the world of farming, starting with my own family's land. As I look towards the future, I feel a mix of emotions, hope, excitement, a bit of apprehension, but mostly, I feel ready. Ready to face whatever challenges come our way, ready to help bridge the gap between traditional farming and modern agricultural science, and ready to be part of my family again, this time on my own terms. The smell of fresh earth and the sight of green fields will always be home to me, but now I know that home can grow and change, just like the crops we tend. Here's to new beginnings, second chances, and the future of Heritage Acres.